Hello and welcome to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. I'm your old host, Gary Morgan. With me, as always, Jim Stamm. And Jim, if I understand correctly, tonight on our show, live for everyone, you are going to announce one of Pittsburgh's very first championships of 2026. Go ahead and do it, sir.
Most recent championships. Yeah. So last weekend, I'm finally thawed out from this, by the way, but last weekend, my son Ben had a hockey tournament in Buffalo, of all places, and it was outdoors on the river. And let me tell you, dude, I'm not complaining about cold anymore because that was we had a game at 7:15 in the morning, 8:15 in the morning on another day. Long story short, they won the championship. It was really cool. Yeah, it was fun and it made it all worth it. So, but I'm glad to be back here with you, dude. We got some things to discuss.
We sure do, man. And congrats to Ben. That's great stuff for real. Yeah, let's talk about Ryan O'Hearn a minute, because listen, we just officially got the announcement that they signed him today, Jim. I mean, and I was thinking to myself, if this is when you and I were like, what, 15, 16 years old, this is exactly when we would have heard that these two sides had agreed to anything. I mean, that news wouldn't have leaked before. It never would have.
Yeah, you're right. It's a different age we live in. Heck, we almost know when things are getting done beforehand. Not with O'Hearn, but yeah, it's different. Took a while, didn't it?
It did. I mean, the holidays have something to do with that, and he had just had a child and everything. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. But what did you think of what he said? Because you can say the right things without kind of adding in a little deeper meaning. And I think today he kind of did. It's one thing to say like this was just a great fit for me or whatever, but to say like you kind of did your research and felt like this team was a couple pieces away, that kind of means something. He either listened to Ben and just was like, this is clearly what this guy wants me to communicate, or that's true and that's really how he felt.
Yeah, I think it could be a couple things. First of all, the attitude should be, from a player standpoint, is the payroll's irrelevant. I think that's an easier case to make for a guy coming from somewhere else where maybe Brian Reynolds would tell you different, right? Like he might say, payroll matters, but I think it's the attitude that you obviously want to have. I'm sure the Pirates stepped up with a good deal for him. But I do think he can say that, yeah, you know what? I am one of the pieces that we were a few pieces away from at least being able to compete, and the pitching staff's here. And I think he can say that and be honest about it.
Yeah, I totally agree. So we wanted to touch base on that real quick. I didn't think it warranted a whole lot of conversation. Another thing we're going to talk about today is the arbitration stuff. We figured out those last four players, Jim. We might as well knock that out here in segment 2 because who knows what it'll lead to, right?
Yeah,
no
sure.
surprises, really. Dennis Santana, fine. I mean, I'm glad they worked it out. Lawrence, great. Joey Bart, okay. O'Neal Cruz, personally, man, I was kind of hoping they would take him to arbitration. Not to like have him get crapped on, but just maybe to have somebody directly tell him some of the shortcomings and things that need to improve to get to the next level. Maybe something coaching can't say.
It's interesting. I was thinking about this today when all the stuff was coming out about all the players, and I'm like, I wonder if there are any surprises anymore in these things. Like, I do think that like teams obviously go in with their ammo, but it wouldn't surprise me if agents already have all that for their players too. Like they kind of know where this would be headed. I tend to agree with you a little bit with Cruz in the sense of maybe it would be good just to sit there and listen to it. But then there's another part of me that was like, man, if he wasn't being kicked when he was down at the end of the season, boy, that should be enough. If he's got to hear that, maybe it doesn't matter all that much.
I
You,
think I think you're highly right. It could not matter at all. Absolutely. I'm just saying, like, as a fan, just sitting back,
mm,
I personally felt like he kind of needed to just go through that process a little bit, just to kind of see very directly the reasons that you have not gotten to the point where you can demand a whole lot more. That said, maybe he didn't give them the opportunity. Maybe he just came in and was like, "Yeah, I'll pretty much take that." Like,
yeah.
and then you're not going to drum up a fight for no reason. It's just I thought it would be a nice side effect to the whole process. That's all.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I wonder where he's at mentally, his headspace too. Those are things we don't know. We know how bad it was at the end of the year that they basically mercy sat him. The last day of the season, I think, for you know not wanting him to hit any dubious marks statistically. So, um, man, he's got to know like this is such a pivotal year for him. He's got to know that. He can't be that oblivious to it, right? I mean, these guys know. These guys have all the information. They know what's on. He's got to know what's on the line financially, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I would think so, man. Like, he's an adult with children. I can't
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah, he's not
And,
a kid
and
anymore.
he's certainly not living off like some exorbitant signing bonus. He never got that in the first place. So, a couple years of a major league minimum pay. I'm not saying that I would be crying poor with that, but we know what these guys owe those agents and the prospect hounds down in the Dominican, and who knows what his in-laws are trying to take from him, and like that money don't go that far. So I
Yeah,
would just think, like, show this kid how to make the money. Like, I'm hoping somebody's sitting there and showing him what gets the money.
yeah, it's a good point. There are mouths to feed with these guys, either family now or all the things you got that got you help along the way. And then, of course, any type of money that the agent gets out of it. Um, yeah, Cruz is by no means financially sound. There are very few of the Paul Skeens in the world that get to start off with 7, 8, 9 million in the bank before they ever do anything.
Truth. I mean, and like, even if we're really honest, like, even a guy like Connor Griffin, like, to get drafted as a high school student, the story is usually a lot different. The story is usually like next year at best, we're looking at double A for him. He's already spent a lot of his bonus. Like, here he is, like, on the doorstep of triple A, got parents that like have a reasonably nice nest for him to land in for a minute if he has to. He's in good shape. That doesn't happen to everybody, and I think we need to remember that when we start getting to these arbitration years for some of these guys. It's the first time they're ever experiencing anybody making a conscious decision to pay them more than they had to.
Very, very true. And I think, you know,
That's less true with college players nowadays. But
yeah, it's funny. It's almost like flipped, weirdly enough. But yeah, I think you take my biggest question is how do these guys deal with this kind of pressure where this is a pivotal year for you, you're going to have to perform if you want to get a big contract, and I guess it's one of those things where some guys handle it well, some guys don't, right?
yeah, I mean, you either get it or you don't. Reality eventually comes for everybody, right?
It,
I mean,
it, it does. You even look at someone like Brian Reynolds. I think when he finally got to be able to sign that kind of money for that kind of deal, it's just one of those things where you're just glad that it happened and you get it done and it's over with and you don't have to worry about it anymore.
absolutely. I mean, it's kind of like, I guess I was looking at arbitration for him. almost the way I did like for my 16-year-old son when he came to me with his first paycheck and tears in his eyes because it wasn't what he had added up in his head. And I said, that's it's all the taxes that I'm always complaining about, man. Like, and he's like, well, why is it like so much less? And I'm like, they're being nice to you. You don't understand. When you make more money, that's going to get way worse, but that's when you start teaching those lessons, like, and it's because the situation came up. And I think that's kind of what I was rooting for with Cruz is
Yeah, no,
the situation's coming up now. Let's have that sit down,
and some tough love, But listen, we can go to break. I want to bring up one more thing about the Cruz thing. Can we carry that in the next segment?
Sure.
Just something I wanted to pick people's brains about.
All right, more Cruz when we come back.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. Jim, you wanted to continue talking about Oneil Cruz. The floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, let's just get it out there. Like, look, Cruz to me is somebody clearly. He's an enigma. We know this. He's frustrating at times. He's incredible at times. People on Twitter are losing their minds that the Pirates just paid him $3.3 million. Like, I'm just shocked that $3.3 million, even for a guy that struggled last year with Cruz's ability and potential. Why the insane reaction to like, shouldn't have paid him anything, get rid of him? I'm just stunned by the fact that people get up in arms over $3.3 million for a guy that still has ability.
I mean, frankly, I'm not anymore, man. I mean, like if you think about the origin,
it wasn't
story,
like he got 10 million, Gary.
No, I mean, but I'm not shocked by it anymore. I still have people suggesting that we sign Trevor Bauer. I mean, like, Jim, you stop being surprised after a while. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of is what it is. Even the origin story of this show never happens if I came up with the idea to do it today, because I never would have met you and trusted you and started this thing.
Well, that might not have been a bad idea.
But I mean, like, I'm just saying that's just not the environment that it is anymore, and it's sad what it's become. You can't even just have discussions like Oneil Cruz for three some $1 million. I mean, guys, who are you gonna get for $20 million? Like, for 20 home runs for $3.3 million? Like, who's gonna do that?
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you just do that with it and say, where am I going to get that kind of production, even if it's kind of stinks like it did last year?
Yeah, fine. To me, it's like turning your nose up at a platoon player. Like, this guy can mash righties, but, against lefties, what a waste of time. We're going to obviously have to have another player. Well, all Cruz can do is hit home runs. I just remember that being a valuable component that has to be in your lineup. And if you have a lineup in which he can't just be pitched around without even thinking, like has happened so often, really. I'm not like giving him an excuse, Jim, but it's only been him and Reynolds in this lineup. How easy is it to just decide those two guys are not going to win this game?
I mean, if you have any type of baseball acumen as an opponent, you certainly don't let either of those guys beat.
That's all I'm saying. And then their opportunities are, the bases are loaded, there's nowhere to put them, and we don't happen to be up by 6 or 7 runs. then they're going to get pitched to.
Yeah.
And even then, Cruz in particular was so broken towards the end of the season. I swear to God, he was still hunting a walk. You're finally going to get pitched to, fella.
Right.
Like
Right.
that. But that's something that I think should change. And while we can sit here and say like they haven't done enough, and I'm sure we will, we'll discuss more of that as the show goes on and as the weeks move on here. I don't want to lose sight of the fact that they really have added some beef to surround what was supposed to be their beef the last couple years. And I think we shouldn't forget that that's going to affect it. We're not just asking for guys to have magical rebounds. We're asking for guys to have practical rebounds based on surrounding them with talent that should make everything stretch out, right? I mean, like,
yeah, I and look, Cruz is a question mark, but I think you'll see a better O'Neal Cruz this year. I guess I go back to like 3 or 4 seasons ago. We paid Yoshi Tsutsugo $4 million for a year. He hit 2 home runs and never played Major League Baseball again. Like, what, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I do.
For the amount of money that they got him for, I look at it as it's huge value, not the
maybe that's the best way to look at it. Really, it's like this is a decision year for him. Frankly, I mean, this is a guy that no matter what else he's done, he has led the league in stolen bases for a year. That shows ability. And that's in a year that I honestly feel like after the All-Star break, he slowed down to the point where he didn't add to that at all. He barely added to the home runs at all. Everything went away after the All-Star break for him. So for me, it's a guy that has shown you the ability to do these things real cheap. Isn't that like exactly what you're always encouraging them to go and try to sign? Like when we're trying to like catch lightning in a bottle, is that not exactly what you'd be out there trying for?
It's interesting if he was someone sitting on the free agent market, and you could say
somebody would be doing Yoan Moncada's with him.
It's saying like you would say like, hey man, you could get this dude for just a year, 3.3 million. Like it's nothing. Like if he is what he can be, or even part of what he can be, I think Pirate fans would fall all over themselves for that.
Yeah, bro. It's like, to me, and I do this a lot, especially in I'm in this one DM chain that comes up an awful lot. Quit selling me Luis Robert Jr. and then out of the other side of your mouth telling me Cruz sucks. Because you're basically trying to sell me the right-handed, oft-injured version of him. I don't want it. You know what I mean? I want Cruz to just get more comfortable, hopefully with more help around him. Make next year one of those seasons where you're like, oh my God, we're going to owe him like $10 million in arbitration. That's what I want. That's what I want next year. I want us to next year be going, well, I guess we should have extended him after all, Jim. Shucks.
Or the people that will say, I knew we should have, and I told everybody this was a mistake.
Yep.
And whatever. The money, for the amount of money it was, I was kind of like, even for Pirate fans, I was a little bit shocked. I'm like, really, this is nothing.
Yeah. Anyways, good conversation about that, Jim. I like adding that on. So let's love on Connor Griffin a little bit, because Major League executives sure as hell are, right? I mean, like, did you see some of the things being said about this kid?
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
Well, I mean, it's super exciting. It's a little scary because, you want
me to read off some of the numbers that they came out with?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is all from MLB Pipeline's poll of executives around baseball, okay? And I saw that you retweeted this too, so I know you're ready to chat about this. But Connor Griffin, shortstop, Pirates, 88.4% think that he is baseball's number one prospect. Kevin McGonigal 4.7. I won't even read the rest because it hardly matters after 88.4. You know how hard it is to get that many people in baseball to agree about anything? Honestly.
Yeah, you're right.
Honestly. I was going to make a political joke. I'm not going to do it. Connor, the next one. Which prospect has the most usable power? Connor Griffin, shortstop, 25.6%. Bryce Eldridge is next from the Giants at 20.9%. Samuel Basallo from the Orioles at 14%, who some of you have proposed a direct trade of Connor Griffin for.
This one surprised me a little bit. On
the best
power
defensive
side.
Prospect? Or you got the power one? Or the power?
The power one. I thought there'd be more, it would be shifted more to some other guys, but I just think people think it's so projectable with him that they're not worried about it if he's not quite there yet.
Right. And I would think that we'll see more power emerge as he gets even more comfortable, because I think he's got kind of easy power in his swing right now. It's just the frame is big, but he seems to be in control of it, which is what makes him so special. Anyways, the scouts already did this work, Jim. Let's let them finish selling him before we do. Who is the best defensive prospect? Now, this one I thought was fascinating because he just moved to this position. You know what I mean? Yeah. So Connor Griffin, shortstop, Pirates, 32.6%. Next closest is Billy Carlson of the White Sox at 14. George Lombard Jr. of the Yankees at 11.6. And Leo DeVries of the Athletics at 7. So, hey, holy crap, brother. For real.
And, the other ones on the list are all shortstops that got, percentages, or the top 4. And I'm curious, have they all been like shortstops like the whole time? And the fact that Griffin's still up there when he can play 2 different positions at a Gold Glove level.
That we know of. You could stick him in a corner, you know it. And you know he could do third. You know he could do second. You know he could figure out first. I mean, like, he's just that kind of player, man.
He is, and he has that size that you can foresee at some point him actually moving to one of those spots, because he's so damn big.
This is probably the most shocking one of all.
Blew me away. This last one, this blew me away.
Who is the best minor league prospect you've seen over the last decade? Now, that's not somebody that's in the minors right now. That's the best minor league prospect these guys have seen, period, over the last decade. There's got to be recency bias attached here, brother. There has to be. It's just so unbelievable. Number 1, Paul Skeens, 28.2. I think that one's worked out. Bobby Witt Jr., number 2 at 12.8. I believe that one has worked out.
Never heard of either of these first 2. Go on, Gary.
Connor Griffin, number 3, 10.3.
Yep.
Fernando Tatis Jr. is number 4 at 7.7. Julio Rodriguez, 5.1. Roman Anthony, who just graduated last year, 5.1. And Ronald Acuna Jr. at 5.1. Jim, is it okay if we breathe a little bit? Is it okay if we believe? Are we allowed to dream on this? Is it possible that we got 2 legitimate generational talents that are going to pair together? Because you get a player like this that comes on and it really happens. You're talking about an addition to a team that they can't go by.
Dude, when I saw this list, and by the way, Roman Anthony, I don't know if you've seen that kid.
I have. Yeah.
Oh my God, what a hitter! What a hitter that kid is. To be on there with the Acuñas and the Wicks,
he's 6th on this list.
Huh?
He's 6th on this list.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
Paul Skeens is the only pitcher.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, like, think about what, and like, listen, we've given Ben Cherington the business. Fair to say, right? We've given Ben Cherington the business on this show. He's drafted 2 of the top 3 prospects that any of these guys have seen in the last decade.
Yeah, and even if you want to say, well, Skeens was, he was a no-brainer. No, he really wasn't. There was a lot of talk about that. I want to say I got it right about Skeens as being the pick. A little pat on the back.
Well,
there.
we cheated. We had Caroline on. She swayed us.
This is true. We had some LSU insight onto it, but you can say that about Skeens. Whatever, knock yourself out. Connor Griffin was not that. Nope. Connor Griffin was young. He was projectable, but there were some real questions about Connor Griffin's hit tool and all that stuff. So, like, that was not a slam dunk pick. So you have to give credit there so far on that one.
Yeah, he had projectability, and
sure,
man, I'll tell you what, the way I wouldn't be shocked to see his brother go in a couple of years. I mean, like, just his dad seems to have some really good insights into helping at least Connor continue to progress quickly and be ready for the next challenge. He seems ready for the next level when he gets there.
Yeah, I was just sitting here today. My son, being 9, he's asking all kinds of questions about can he make the jump? What about AAA? I told him, I said, Ben, sometimes there's just guys, they don't need it. They just don't need it.
I don't want to get carried away again, but like, this is a special occasion.
Well, sure. We're not saying we're not the ones that put the poll out or the numbers out.
That's what I mean. It's a special occasion. MLB Pipeline went crazy. Let's go crazy. Like,
it's okay to be very excited about it.
No, it really is. And like, maybe this is where I tend to fall more on, recently anyway, the hockey side of things as far as phenom goes, because I've seen Mario Lemieux, I've seen Sidney Crosby, I've seen Jaromir Jagr, I've seen Evgeny Malkin, I've seen these can't miss studs come up and be can't miss studs from the beginning. Even Jordan Stahl, for God's sake, with the Penguins. When I go to the Pirates, man, I'm like Barry Bonds, Garrett Cole, and now I've got maybe 2 of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Now, if let's say he does burst on the scene, Jim, what does that do to this season? Like, what does that take your expectations from being possible? Because you're not going to add Bobby Witt, or are you?
Yeah. No, it would change things. It would change things massively, I think, if it was that, because you're, like you said, you're not going out and signing Bo Bichette and Bobby Witt and Kyle Tucker if you just get a guy, and by the way, at a position where like the impact is immeasurable. Yeah. Is that going to happen to that extent? I don't know, but I just looked at all the guys' names on that list, and all of them pretty much hit the ground running and never looked back. So can I just assume that like there's a pretty good shot that he may hit the ground running too?
We're kind of doing what we did with Paul, and that's appropriate, I think. We both were incredibly curious as he was a prospect. We watched him closely when he was playing in the minors. Every opportunity we got that they put it on TV, went down and saw them in spring training, saw that breakout game. I mean, you felt it coming, but you just never wanted to say it too full-throated, almost like you were gonna break the luck or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. And I totally understand that feeling. And I think I'll probably fall right back to it after this show. It's just right now, man, right now, I just want to dream that that's going to happen because I think it changes everything. That's an incredible leadoff hitter right away if you want to use him there. Or he's a heart of the order guy if you want to use him there.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible insurance policy. Like if O'Neal Cruz ultimately can't be a center fielder and you find some other answer for shortstop, however you want to go, the flexibility, there's just nothing to stand in his way. It just feels like way too logical to let it play out if it plays out, right? I mean, he's been crushing it at every level.
Yeah, I think when you look at it too is like, my question would be is if he comes in and he's ready and he simply gives you kind of what Bobby Witt did his rookie year, which Bobby Witt, well, that was in 2022. It seems like he's been around longer than that now. 20 homers, 80 RBIs, 30 steals, and OPS wasn't that great, 722, but 20 and 30, 80 ribbies. I think you'd take that in a heartbeat and say he's well on his way. Would you agree with that?
I would. I mean, I wish I was a little bit older when Chad Hermanson was coming up, or at least paying more attention. Because that's the last one I can remember getting this kind of hype in the minor leagues, like that he was going to step right in and start. It was going to be so easy. It's going to be predicted. Maybe Jeff King before him, Barry Bonds. Everybody else felt like, a little bit of a work in progress, right? Like
Sure.
that's the only ones I can. Like Chris Benson, I remember the expectation. He didn't follow through. Garrett Cole, the expectation. Probably slower start than I think he would have liked here, right? Jameson Taillon, so many injuries. How could you keep track? I'm trying to really rack my mind about who had the real expectations. Andrew McCutchen, maybe? But
yeah, Kutch would probably be curious what Kutch's first full year looked like too, because that's the other thing about this is I just told you what Witt's numbers were. Is anyone going to sit there and scream only a 722 OPS? You know what I mean? Like, but the numbers are really good. The impact was there.
yeah, right.
So it's the ball of momentum is getting bigger and bigger and rolling faster and faster downhill. I think Connor Griffin's the type that's built for that, right? Like he seems to be.
Yeah, and I think another thing that I don't want to dip too deep into, but if there really is a whole lot of question about next year, like happening or not, it feels to me like the more entrenched at this level Connor Griffin is before then, the better for coming out of it. I feel like if he hasn't debuted yet, and it seems to me you'd want to get him up here as early as possible and get it started if it was ready. That's all.
Okay,
I don't think there's any reason to hold him back because you may very well not play for a year. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just feel like if he's ready, he's ready. Let nothing else be the determining factor or factors, whether it's, because fans love to do that, right? They're like, well, he's better than anyone they have. That doesn't matter when it comes to like, is he ready? If he's ready, play him. If you really feel that way. That's how I look at it.
What would you need to see? The reason I ask is because I think Jared Jones is really the best example of a kid that kind of came out and did just about everything you could possibly do to get the call north and got it. Right. I don't count like Thomas Harrington last year because honestly, I didn't feel like he had a great spring and he got it anyway. They were just playing some kind of weird game there. I'm not sure what it was, and it wasn't effective. But
yeah,
I can't really think of. I can't really think of what I need to see from him. I mean, obviously, I need the position to be manned well, and I think we've already kind of established that. You certainly don't go by home runs. We know what happens in Bradenton as far as power goes, right? Like,
I
but
think as
there,
long as you're seeing, as long as you're seeing good competitive at bats and putting the ball in play and hitting the ball hard and not having an awful spring training, that's all I'd want to see.
yeah, that's what any kind of injury, it's over. I mean, like a hamstring pull, forget it. He
Yeah.
ain't starting out of spring. I mean, a twisted ankle, forget it. He ain't starting out of spring.
Sure.
I mean, anything like that happens that delays his start and progression and ability to compete daily, and they'll push it off. That's what I mean. I think he's got to have a pretty much flawless spring like Jared Jones did.
Yeah, and even last spring when we got to see him a little bit,
he looked ready last year almost.
Yeah,
right?
like he wasn't embarrassing himself, and he was a little baby running out there, huge baby, but still a baby, and he looked like he belonged. And I can't imagine what that might look like this year. Man, spring training is going to be fun, and they better have just about every damn game on that he pitches. I will say that, or that he plays.
I just think, like, we talk about him like, yeah, he's coming, and I understand why everybody wants to push him off and at least like not expect him. That's probably the best way to put it. People want to not expect it. I totally get that. But I do think when I look at what they've already done, paired with what I still think they're going to do, I still think they're going to get a starter, and I still think they're going to look for somebody to play third base. I really do think they're going to bring in somebody else. At least. Add Connor Griffin into that. I don't know that I want to put a cap on what this team can get done, because I think the pitching staff's pretty special. I think they could be one of those teams that kind of just comes out of nowhere.
Right. And, especially when you look at the NL Central, right, as a whole, you can really start to see like a path, because it just doesn't seem like a lot has happened there. So, Gary, do you want to get to that? You want to take a break? What do you think? Because I want to talk about that, the setting that they're in.
I think you're right. Let's take a break, and then let's kind of talk about where we are in the division, right?
Yeah.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. Just reminding, I think before we get into what's going on in the division, Jim, one thing I did want to just talk about with you, because we're Pittsburghers first.
Yes, we are.
Now, what about the Post-Gazette, bro? I mean, like, it's sad that it's closing down. I can't say I'm surprised. All physical newspapers will at some point. And I mean, I don't own a subscription. I read the free articles, or somebody copies and pastes them on Facebook, and I read those. I mean, I'm only interested in the sports, frankly. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, I'm not going to sit here and personally wail about it. I don't have a subscription and haven't. There's just too many places to get content these days, much like us, and much more out there and in written form and whatnot. This has been a long time coming, and even with or without the strike and everything that happened with that, this day was always coming. You just,
Jim, when the strike was going on, you and I said this is exactly what was going to come from it. I mean, like, we were talking about it way back then. I'm sad that some good writers are out of a job, and I hope that they land on their feet and get a job elsewhere, and I hope it's in Pittsburgh, especially Jason Mackey.
Yeah.
I think he's been great. So
no, you hate to see it because these are Pittsburghers. There's not a lot of places to branch out if you want to stay. I hope it doesn't force people to leave. And it's tough on families too. And it's not real super easy out there right now for everybody. So it sucks. I grew up with all these papers, grew up checking box scores. I have a certain nostalgia for it all. But
I do too, but like, when's the last paper that you bought that wasn't specifically because there was a championship that you wanted the masthead from? Or I'm just saying, like, it's like the Dirty O. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's so sad that Dirty O's. Well, when's the last time you're there? Oh geez, 94. You know, like,
right.
I'm just saying, like, you miss it, but it went away because people's palates grew up, you know. And
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, it things change, and like, you can't compete with a physical newspaper anymore. They tried to make the transition to digital. I'm sure that's how most people took them in, but that, then there's a paywall. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm going to the Trib for the same exact press availability that you have.
Yeah, the irony of it today was the story came up, Post-Gazette link. I clicked on it. I couldn't read the story because there was a paywall on the story about them no longer being a company. It was like it was ironic to say the least. It sucks. I hope people land on their feet. That's the last thing I can say about it.
I agree. But we have a great show on a successful journalistic site that is still going on. So we should probably be happy that it does still work out there.
It does. It's just everything changes and everything. It's just in different forms now.
Right. No reason somebody can't start a venture just like DK Sports about covering Pittsburgh. If you want, I'm sure they have and can. And the Trib does still exist, so it's not like we don't have a paper. We just don't have a printed thing anymore, really.
Right.
Which is weird. And I don't miss the city paper at all. I can't remember last time I read that. All right, the division, brother.
let's get back to baseball. This is way more fun.
The division. All right, so the Brewers last year, man, 97 wins. They've done some weird things, right? They traded Nick Mears and Isaac Collins for that Angel Zerpa guy, which, who knows? He could be great because their GM's wonderful. So he probably knows what he's doing, right?
Sounds like it. Seems like it.
Let's see. Brandon Woodruff they kept. And Akil Baddoo they brought in.
But aren't they shopping what's his face?
Peralta.
I thought that was still something that may occur.
It may. I haven't heard that it's gone anywhere yet, but I keep hearing it as a rumor. That said, I keep hearing Keller's a rumor too, and I know that that's not happening. So I'm sure that goes on elsewhere too, right? Maybe there's people covering the Brewers that are like, please shut up about Peralta. He's not going anywhere. But 97 wins is hard to get back to, Jim. That's a lot of wins. And I don't think they've added hardly anything.
Yeah, four more wins than the Dodgers. That's crazy when you think about it. No, I think the Brewers are formidable because they seem to have
they're formidable because they were formidable and they haven't changed enough to not be.
Yeah, and they seem to have their fingers on the pulse of how to do this, right? But no, they haven't looked like anything better than they were, and I would say that most people would say they overachieved last year, right? I mean, I think that's fair. I don't think anybody.
I think that's kind of why I think 97 wins would be tough to repeat, because I didn't feel like that was a 97 win team. I just didn't. And I kind of don't again. And I'm anxious to see what Quinn Priester does in year 2 or 3 or whatever we're calling it, of his journey.
Team 2
You
or
know?
3 or 4, something
Well,
like
does he continue what he started doing last year, or does the league push back a little bit? Now that he's had some success, we'll see. How does Miz continue? Can he keep throwing the ball the way he has for a full season and be a starter? I don't know. That's a lot to ask. We'll see. He certainly was impressive and scary, right?
Absolutely.
If he's good, he's good. They've got some other good young arms too. So even if they do trade Peralta, I don't think you're looking at a nosedive for the Brew Crew, right?
No nosedive, maybe just a little bit of regression win-wise. I still think they'll be the clear favorite, right?
I can't imagine why they wouldn't be, if only because the Cubbies lost. Well, I guess they haven't officially lost him yet, but Kyle Tucker is not coming back to the Cubs. It just doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel like Bellinger is either. So I look at their roster right now. They've just picked up Edward Cabrera, so that adds to their pitching. They've got Shota Imanaga back. They brought in Harvey and Maton and Milner. They lost Owen Kaisi, but that's just a prospect. I wouldn't worry about that much. It's the Tucker loss that really hits. And Ian Happ's not getting any younger. You would think they might want to do something in the outfield, right?
Yeah, you would think, but it seems like they're sitting around. This is a team that went 92 and 70 last year.
I think Cabrera is a good addition for them if he stays healthy. Don't you?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I just think if you're going to lose a Kyle Tucker, they're more than capable of going out and spending and replacing that, or trying to get another impact bat in. They just don't seem real interested in doing it.
I haven't heard them rumored with anything big at all. That's why I'm kind of going like, yeah, I don't know what they're planning here. Maybe they're not doing anything. They really did have a nice batch of prospects, but Kaisi was probably the best of them. Alcantara, I guess, is interesting. Matt Shaw, I looked at his numbers, Jim, and if I put his numbers side by side with Jared Triolo, I think you might pick Jared Triolo if it was a blind contest. And one is seen as like the next coming of great third baseman, and the other one sucks and has to be replaced at all costs, right?
Yeah, and I'll be the first to admit I don't remember seeing Matt Shaw anything other than some Pirate games. So I would love to know. I would love to have seen him a little bit more.
The power's pretty good.
And the pedigree's there. Maybe he's just off to a slow start.
I like him for real, but the Cubs, I don't know, neutral. Kyle Tucker's a big loss, man. Like, that's a big loss. He didn't have a great down the stretch for them, but neither did PCA. What a tale of two seasons for him as well.
PCA really faded down the stretch after the All-Star break.
Suzuki was probably their best hitter. Period.
Yeah, they're not bad. If that pitching staff can hold up, maybe they surprise, but it wouldn't also shock me to see them if they're not going to add anything more than they have, that they could drop back down into that, 3, 4, 5 games above 500 type scenario.
I'm going to kind of just call them a push. It kind of just feels like they just stayed level to me. As of right this second, I don't feel like they've done anything up or down. I think they've leveled out with the loss of Tucker enough with some of the pitching they've brought in that I think they're probably right around the same kind of team. Now the Reds, all they've brought in is JJ Bleday. They retained Emilio Pagan. They got Caleb Ferguson, our old friend, who I wanted back. No major subtractions, really. Yeah. Right. The rotation health is probably their biggest stumbling block. 83 wins last year. I can't sit here and tell you they got any better. But if I think our young players should improve, I think their young players should improve too, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, things really obviously had to fall right for them at the end of last year. At least they were in a position to do so. But yeah, I think would it shock you to see them go from 83 and 79 to 79 and 83? No.
no, it really
So
depends, because if they do start getting nicked up especially in the rotation, I don't think they've got a second and third wave. I think the Pirates do. I think Pirates do have a little bit of insurance. Not much more. They've traded a couple pieces of that insurance, but they've got some. The Reds don't have nearly that kind of depth. They really don't. So I think they have fragile chance to improve with just the young players as long as they stay healthy. But they might not be done, even though their ownership said they are. How about the Cardinals with
let's talk about the Cardinals, Gary. What's going on, man? They just seem to be kind of like wandering in the wilderness. Like for a team that just for every year they were just always either going to win the division or they'd get in the wild card and then they'd win the World Series. It's just they're not. They just
for one
don't.
thing, they have no TV contract right now at all. So they have no idea what kind of money they're going to have. And as we get closer and closer to the season, it's looking more and more like they're going to wind up going on the Major League Baseball plan.
Yeah, I think that was there something today that said they actually have agreed to do that.
If there is, Jim, I missed it. I just read about this yesterday. So
yeah,
but that's a big hit for the Cardinals. It's a lot of money that will be leaving their pocket. So I'm sure they really do want to start getting rid of some people and cleaning house a little bit. Problem is, Nolan Arenado refuses to go. He will not go. And they got Sonny Gray to waive his, but Nolan Arenado won't. And if he won't, then do they have a choice? Like, can they really empty out? Truthfully?
I mean, I don't know that they're not going to have a choice to a little bit. I don't know what their minor league system looks like right now, if it's in great shape or if it's middling.
They're set to have potentially the rookie of the year, depending, JJ Weatherholt.
Yeah, he's a stud. But, obviously there'd have to be more than that coming along in the next couple of years. Could we really be sitting here next year and the Cardinals are at the bottom of this division? I think there's a real good possibility of it.
Here's what Josh says from Bridge to October. It was also reported that FanDuel skipped a payment to the Cardinals and Marlins, so the Cardinals lost money in that deal last year. Okay. So anyways, things ain't great in Cardinalsville, man. They're not. And it's kind of been going that way for a minute, too. Attendance has been down. It just hasn't been good for a while. And there was apparently drama with their head coach last year. I guess I heard Holiday was on some show talking about Mike Stilt last year, and it was just bad communication and guys didn't like playing for him or whatnot. I don't know. The Cardinals added basically some starters: Dustin May, big question mark, Clark, Fitz, and Dobbins from Boston. The funny thing is, we talk to Ed a lot. Those are all guys with like a whole lot of trouble with their fastball because the fastball doesn't move a lot. So I was excited by that news, and I figured I would share it with you so that you could smile like I did about it, Jim.
No, I was not aware of that, but I will tell you is it's just weird to see them in this position. They've been so competitive for so long, and
they traded Contreras, but I don't think that hurts them. I think that's probably good for them.
You'll find no Contreras fans on this podcast.
Right.
That's a addition by subtraction. I guess like the whole thing about this is with this division is the Brewers do take that step back that I think we both think they will in some way, shape, or form. This division actually gets a whole lot more interesting and tighter, does it not?
It does, I would think. This might turn into quite the muddled mess of a division, where everybody's kind of in the high 80s, and except for one or two teams. And I could see the Pirates being one of those bottom two teams or up in the race. I really could. There's so many ifs this year with Griffin and rebounds and how new players adjust, and Don Kelly's first full year, brand new pitching coach, going to be relying on a lot of young pitching. This season really could go any of a number of ways. It really could.
Yeah. The crazy thing is it just stuck out to me as we're looking at the teams and the standings from last year, whatever. Really comes down to how much can the Pirates make up ground offensively on some of these teams. The Brewers scored 806 runs last year. The Pirates scored 583. Like, boy, that is a huge, huge gap.
They also just moved a bunch of runs out the door, along with some of their run prevention. The Pirates just brought in a bunch of run producers. Brandon Lau, Ryan Hearn, even Mangum has a lot of runners in scoring position chops last year. So
yeah, it's where they got to make up the ground, right? Cubs are right behind that at 793. Obviously, things change from year to year with offenses, and things can be real good one year and not the next. But those are some pretty sizable numbers.
And like we said, we felt like the Brewers overachieved. I felt like the Pirates underachieved. I felt like the Pirates had probably a better than a 71 win team last year. And I think the Brewers probably didn't have really what looked like a 97 win team last year. You still got to play the games. So I'm not sure these teams are all that far apart, almost top to bottom. Man, if I was going to go to FanDuel, even though I just found out they don't pay out, according to Josh, I think you could reasonably place a bet on just about any team. Take the best odds and give it a shot. This division's wide open to me, unless I see a lot more as the off season concludes, man.
Yeah, and it just goes to show from year to year how unpredictable these things can be. Because last year when we talked about the NL Central, were we talking about any of these teams leading the league in wins? 3 of the teams made the playoffs and were over 500. I think you could see something starkly different from that this year, but that's the beauty of it. Year to year, it can change quite a bit.
I mean, even just last year, just the payrolls, did it not look like the Mets were like World Series or bust last year? And now it's kind of like, what are you doing, Mets? Like, what are the Mets doing?
Right.
Like, they certainly have the money to do whatever they want. But I mean, like, there's a lot of teams that I'm not 100% sure what's going on. Philadelphia, like, how are you going to let Ranger Suarez go, man? Like, don't you kind of need him? And aren't they supposed to be trying to get rid of Nick Castellanos at some point? And there's a lot of changes going on still, right? It's too early to say what's going to happen. Like, pretend we can guess, but just where we are right now, I'm kind of liking Pirateville. I think we're in good spot, man. I kind of like where we fit in this division right now on paper.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how this next month or so plays out with free agency the rest of the way. Is the Pirates, there's still a little bit of work to be done here, even if they can't land anybody of one person of consequence. We do know that they still need to get out there and do some things to give themselves a better chance.
Yeah, like I think a starter's non-negotiable. I think you have to get one. Jose Quintana type is fine, for me.
Oh, sure.
But if you want to go nuts and get Framber Valdez, I'll be okay with that.
That would be okay.
Or Ranger Suarez or whatever. You guys want to go nuts. You go out and do that, Bob. I'd be excited if you did. But I'd be happy with a Jose Quintana. I think that would work. Wouldn't prevent anything great from happening or anything good from coming up and pushing him out of the way at some point. I think that's probably a pretty good one. I do. Yeah, I don't know, Jim. I think aside from that, I can kind of go into the season. I'm ready. There's some other things I would like them to do or wouldn't mind them doing or would kind of like to take a look at it, but go get me like a Jose Quintana or better. And I'm ready to start I'm ready to start the spring and see where we go. I think that gives them a little bit of flexibility to make a move at the deadline to add, if as opposed to going all the way over what they believe their preseason cap was.
Yeah, at this point,
you might need a Marlon Bird, bro. I'm just saying something like that.
Yeah, we've mentioned some guys that are still out there that I think are realistic that they could bring in. We've talked about them on other shows. Do I expect the Eugenio Suarez type thing? No.
I think it's possible, though. I do. I think that's possible.
Yeah, it's possible. I just think that they might choose to go another route with the money. Regardless, we're only now? I'm 6 weeks away from actually having some players have to report. So It goes quick.
Yeah, Henry's down there, I believe, right now. So
Henry getting some extra BP. I hope so.
Yep. So so hey, Pirates Fest is coming up here pretty quick, Jim. You gonna be there? I think I'm gonna bring my younger boy. He's gonna come with me and help me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. You know what? We've been so crazy busy with sports here at the house that if we're here, we will be there. But yeah, I'm not totally sure yet.
Right. So hey, anyways, man, that was fun talk. I'm happy about. It was fun talking about exciting possibilities, right? Like that's really what the Griffin conversation was about. It's really what this division was about. Look around you, open your eyes in the haunted house, and it ain't that scary. Turn on a light. You'll see all the props. I'm just saying, look around this division. It ain't as scary as you think.
No, it's a division that if a team would get, it's funny to see all the teams kind of not doing a lot because it seems to be a division that would be there for the taking if someone wanted to.
Well, and we should also note, because it always gets rubbed in my nose and we just need to make sure, the Pirates were able to do a lot because the Pirates had a long way to go to just even reach the floor of where everyone else was standing on. Yeah. So that's why, from our perspective, it's like, man, they've done this and they've done this and they have. And it's all good stuff. But they had a lot more room to do so. And
right. This was just getting back to a baseline of acceptable.
Yeah. And I think they're just about there. I don't think they're done. I really do believe that we're going to get another starter. I think Ben's actually said that that's a priority for them. So that should happen. I don't know what else I'd have to have. A third baseman would be my wish. But I just beyond Suarez, then you get to Moncada. And it's like, if you plug your nose enough for that, okay. But beyond that, what else? And then do you really want to get into the trade market and start? What are you going to give up? Well, I can't be selling pitching anymore, can I? Not unless you want Xander Meath, like all the way down in single A.
No, I think if you were looking to do something now, you'd put starting pitching probably at or near the top, along with third base on my wish list. But one's a lot easier to add than the other. So Just being realistic about it. I wish they would. I wish they would go over and above. But that's where I'm at. I think realistically, you're going to see a starting pitcher. They might the bullpen. I don't know.
I think you're going to see a starting pitcher, Andrew McCutchen, and then we'll fight it out in the spring. You might see another reliever.
Be interesting to see where a lot of these names still go, though, because there's quite a few names out there, and even ones that are in the Pirates ballpark. So, and Polar Berry White, no, Lau cannot play third.
And even if he could, you wouldn't move the star; you'd move somebody else.
Yeah. So no, he's that is not a thing at this point for Lau.
Let's knock out other questions that I don't want to answer. No, Andrew McCutchen cannot play and coach. It hasn't happened since Pete Rose. Please stop bringing it up. Let's talk about other silly things like that, Jim.
Yeah, no, I think we're getting to the point where you can kind of project certain things pretty confidently right now. Connor Griffin's not going to be playing third base, things like that. So,
no need to. Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the thing. You can get really creative with it, but I think sometimes when one move has to create 7 others, it's not as smart as you really want it to be. You know, like you need to think of the path of least resistance sometimes, especially if you're talking about moving a star around. You don't do that lightly. Like if you bring somebody in who's been a good first baseman and that's what they do and they're good at it, you don't move them off of it, you know, like because they can do something else, unless you have to.
Yeah, and the Pirates did that with Henry Davis somewhat, and I would hope they would learn that maybe you don't mess around with certain dudes if you can at all avoid it.
Yeah. Hey, this was great. Congratulations, Ben, on the championship. Hope you get another one. And yeah, I mean, if he gets another one, Jim, don't you get to file for bankruptcy? I mean, isn't that how it works? Like, because you're going to have to go to Canada or something for a tournament and mortgage your house and car. And
I'm already doing that just to pay for the stupid hockey that he's in, dude.
I love it, man. It's so funny because I remember when I first started playing hockey, I told my mom I needed to pay for ice, and she goes, "Well, we have ice. You can bring it." Like she had no idea what I was talking about. I grew up playing on ponds and stuff, man. So
I wish I could do that, but it ain't that way. Next thing you know, it's going to be twice as expensive, and Dad's not looking forward to it. So
all right, hey, good stuff, everybody. Let's go Bucks. This was a fun show, everybody. Let's try to keep the energy up. Let's hope the Pirates help us by doing something else this week.
Yeah, let's do it. Appreciate it, guys.
Let's go Bucks.